A century since the Great Spirit Chi awakening, this primal energy now fuels the entire world. Driven by this surge, life split in two. Some reverted to primal states, gaining immense raw physical strength. Others underwent spiritual mutations, mastering devastating energy-based strikes. Consequently, new professions emerged from spirit beast observers to specialized material analysts. A young man lazily scrolled his feed. A frantic query popped up, help bitten by a ghostly thorn bristle spider. Relaxing on his bed, the silver-haired teen typed out a calm reply. Stay calm, chug hot water and rest in a breezy spot, he advised, to keep your corpse from smelling. Suddenly, a fluffy paw poked him. A tiny creature whined about the heat. This was Smarty, a 100 questions beast. He kept grumbling to his owner, Lin Yuan, about the sweltering temperature. Smarty climbed onto Yuan's head, hoping for a breeze, but Yuan just gave him a deadpan look. The height difference was pathetic. Smarty pushed open the window, chirping with joy as a gust finally entered. Yuan began his daily chores. At 18, he managed a tiny spirit shop. While the world harnessed spirit chi effortlessly, to evolve life for Yuan, it remained a distant fantasy. Born with a fragile constitution, he lost all ability to perceive spirit chi at just 8 years old. No physical empowerment, no legendary contracts. He was a normal human in a world of gods. He inspected a lily lyra, a common plant with mediocre quality, barely scraping past low-grade status. Covering it was useless. The blistering heat was winning, and he lacked the means to lower the temperature. Smarty watched the wilting lily. As a bottom-tier healer, it stood no chance in the competitive market. Even common livestock fodder like green creepers was more desirable. Ever since the awakening, hierarchy ruled everything. Below copper grade was trash. Nobody wasted precious resources on weaklings, as elite species offered a far better return on investment through evolution. Case in point, 100 questions, beast has never evolved. Suddenly, Yin Yin, a small winged bird, arrived. This sound bird was delivering Yuan's vital medication. Thanks, Yin Yin, he whispered gratefully. His frail state meant even simple contracts with Smarty and Yin Yin caused weeks of debilitating vertigo. Empowering them was a pipe dream. An hour passed and boredom began to sink in. Do humans just sleep all day? Smarty asked, staring at the empty streets. Yuan just sighed. He began advertising his green creepers. Soon, a young girl clutching a cat passed by with her mother. She spotted Smarty, recognizing him as the same species as her own pet Kiki. Smarty enthusiastically offered their wares, but Kiki scoffed, mocking Smarty's dull gray fur as budget tier. She acted superior. Offended, Smarty barked back, reminding her they were the exact same species. Rock, paper, scissors, right now, he challenged. Yuan quickly intervened to stop the chaos. You literally have paws, Smarty, Yuan joked, suggesting a stroll to clear the air. Since business was dead, they closed up. Smarty immediately began lobbying for a meat dinner. Braised pork is brain food, he insisted. If I eat enough, I'll definitely win next time. Yuan stifled a laugh. Yin Yin tried to help, noting that while Smarty wasn't the brightest, he was definitely the most affordable. Smarty slumped. That makes it so much worse. Yuan's guilt over his lack of chi lingered until Smarty shrieked. A massive, blunt-armored pig stood nearby. Why was it in the park? Had the farm lost control? Smarty, however, was just drooling, and lunged at this walking mountain of pork. Yuan lunged to grab him, preventing a suicide mission. There was no way to win. Then he saw the beast's fury. These beasts were usually docile. Smarty's antics shouldn't have triggered such rage. Yuan bolted as the massive pig thundered after them. His lungs burned. Yuan, you're struggling, Smarty cried out in alarm. Yuan stumbled. He pulled Smarty close, shielding him. Yin Yin, trembling with fear, took a stand. Smarty bared his teeth at the pork monster. Darkness began clouding Yuan's vision. Run, he gasped. Suddenly, reality shattered. A mysterious voice echoed, calling out his name. Yuan's eyes locked onto a weathered copper bracelet. It was the same treasure he'd lost at 8. The artifact that once fused with his blood suddenly flared, glowing brilliantly as it locked onto his wrist. A surge of power hit him. Finally, the spirit chi he'd lost at age 8 was returning. Now armed, he stood tall. Nearby, a blunt-armored pig was relentlessly hunting down poor Smarty. Yin Yin pleaded for a plan, but even with his restored chi, they were short on time. His wrist and left eye suddenly ignited. A glowing status window appeared, revealing the pig's data. Named Zai, this level 3 defense monster boasted a normal domain. Yuan scanned its stats instantly. Dread set in. A level 3 beast was a nightmare. Smarty hadn't even reached level 1. He shouted for Smarty to dodge right, but the physical power gap was just too overwhelming. They were outmatched. Desperate, Yuan wished for a contract to unlock the bracelet's full hidden potential. Yin Yin unleashed sonic waves to avenge Smarty. Yuan noticed a strange energy resonance between them. Their auras matched. As the bracelet pulsed, Smarty and Yin Yin began a miraculous sudden evolution. Fueled by the bracelet's power, the pig roared. Smarty braced himself, fighting to stay standing. Yuan knew the truth. Despite their evolution, a level 1 beast couldn't stop a level 3 titan. Yuan spotted a weak point, even as Smarty joked that this braised pork was too tough. "Sing yin yin," he commanded. "Just get its attention, any loud notes will work for us." She belted out a chaotic melody. The pig recoiled, but Yuan remained immune after years of training. The plan worked. The pig turned its murderous attention toward the noisy yin yin instead. She was the decoy now. Yuan barked out, aim for its eyes, blind it to stop it. Yin Yin prepared a finishing move, but her glowing aura suddenly flickered and vanished into nothing. His spiritual energy had bottomed out. Just a second more, Yuan begged the bracelet to hold. The energy surged back. Yin Yin didn't hesitate, launching her feathers to shroud the pig's eyes. As the beast panicked, it was Smarty's turn. He lunged forward, targeting the pig's sensitive nose. He struck. The pig retreated in terror, accidentally knocking into Smarty and leaving him dazed. "Did we win?" Smarty asked. Yuan, barely clinging to consciousness, managed a weak yes. They had successfully driven it off. With the threat gone, Yuan finally collapsed into a sleep. The pig fled blindly, only to be stopped by a man in a wheelchair and his beast. Assisted by a woman, he studied the beast. Her eyes widened at a very familiar feather. She recognized it instantly. It belonged to the bird from Yuan's house. Something was very wrong. She told old Li to handle the pig while she rushed to find Yuan. He hurried her. Li's eyes flashed red, channeling his beast's power. Meanwhile, Yuan's soul returned to that mysterious void. He had spent countless hours wandering this dreamscape, the very place where the bracelet resided. "Thanks for the help," Yuan whispered. As if acknowledging him, the copper bracelet pulsed with light. This space was nearly 50 square meters. Was this a spirit creature's internal realm? An ability. Yuan quickly checked the status screen for his new spirit creature. Species Mobius. Grade normal, level 1. Attributes spatial and mystic. It possessed 2 unique skills. True Data, which uncovers hidden secrets, and Calm Mind, a passive skill that stabilizes his spirit. He knew True Data was broken, and suspected Calm Mind came from surviving Yin Yin singing. Wait, it had an exclusive trait that was unheard of for any beast below the bronze rank. A normal grade with such a trait, this had to be a divine treasure or legendary breed. Mobius was unique. It could house spirit creatures, but their level couldn't exceed its own. It only leveled up alongside its residents and copied their initial skills without gaining new ones. Each rank advancement adds 1 housing slot. The growth potential here was simply massive. Yuan realized he could only contract a level 1 beast. Mobius's growth depended on him. He had to raise his spirits carefully. This bracelet was his path to becoming a legend. To snag another contract, he had to grind a level 1 spirit beast all the way to rank 10. But leveling even low-tier beasts was a total money sink at this insane rate. A fortune would vanish in seconds, and right now his pockets were completely bone dry. Still, he stayed hyped. At least he finally tapped into spiritual power for a future comeback. Suddenly, a familiar voice pressed the doctor about why the boy was still out cold. It had been 12 hours, yet the diagnosis was just mental fatigue and slight exhaustion. That was definitely Auntie Jiang from next door. Time to wake up and face reality. He opened his eyes to Yin Yin pecking him, while Smarty slapped his face awake. After reassuring them, he saw Auntie Jiang practically glowing with relief at his recovery. The doctor mentioned she'd been worried sick before ordering one final checkup for safety. Yuan tried to decline, but Auntie Jiang wasn't having it after his 10-hour blackout. She scolded him, warning that ignoring minor symptoms leads to major medical disasters. Defeated, he stayed put. These neighbors were family, but Mobius remained his ultimate secret. As the doctor summoned his beast, a data screen flickered to life before Yuan's eyes. It was a cleansing Vimba carp, a level 4 elite from the Cyprininae species. This water-type beast boasted 2 skills, starting with a powerful physical tail sweep. Its second skill, Cleanse, could literally absorb mental trauma to soothe a fractured mind. A rare ability indeed, truly fitting for an elite-grade creature of that caliber. With a clean bill of health, the doctor rushed home to his wife for dinner. Uncle Lee's beast arrived with a special nutrient-rich meal just for the recovering boy. The aroma of braised pork immediately sent Smarty and Yin Yin into a hungry frenzy. Looking at the rabbit, Yuan realized it was far too mysterious to be a terror rabbit. He scanned it but found only question marks. This was no ordinary low-level beast. After recovering, Yuan struggled through his daily jog, gasping for every single breath. Training without spirit, Qi felt like hitting a brick wall every morning since the hospital. Maybe combat wasn't his path. A peaceful life-type profession seemed much more realistic now. On his way back, he ran into Uncle Lee and Auntie Jiang out grocery shopping. He claimed he was just staying fit, while secretly scanning Lee's leg for hidden details. The scan revealed bone-devouring worms, a platinum-rank curse made of pure biological toxin. These rotting silkworms burrow deep, sacrificing themselves to create a permanent, agonizing gangrene. Uncle Lee had been sealing this lethal poison in his own flesh for many years. This meant the old man was a king-grade powerhouse at the very least. Even his beast was likely suppressed, taking a weak form just to survive the injury. Uncle Lee was a hidden titan. He told Yuan to reach out for any help. Yuan played it cool, but internally, he was desperate to repay their years of kindness. He needed a cure. Clad in fresh clothes, he headed straight to a beast shop. He spotted a green creeper, a basic level 1 grass type of normal quality. To his shock, the creature suddenly spiked into an elite-grade beast right before him. His spirit chi was leaking out, fueling an accidental evolution that changed everything. Testing his limits, he tried to force evolve the vine into a healing lily Loira. The beast transformed instantly, shifting into a beautiful variant under the Aeonium genus. It was now a level 1 wood type, reaching elite grade with total ease. It gained heal for physical wounds, and fragrance to melt away heavy mental stress. Success. The beast's value just spiked tenfold through its powerful new skills. Grinning, he called Yin Yin and Smarty over to witness their upgraded new friend. Level up achieved. He pulled up the stats for Smarty, his feline 100 questions beast. This level 2 sapient cat was a psychic type currently sporting standard tier abilities. His perfect recall skill captured every tiny detail with laser precision. Smarty puffed his chest out, bragging he'd gone from remembering 1 slab of braised pork to a whopping 30. Next up, Yin Yin, a level 3 sound bird from the song lover genus. Pure elegance in flight. As a sound attribute spirit, she showcased her leveled up vocals. Yuan beamed with absolute pride. This was it, the ultimate cheat code. Riches were finally within his grasp. But then, reality hit. Evolution wasn't just about money. It was legendary tier difficulty. Natural evolutions were rare myths. Most required a master creator burning through mountains of rare elixirs and treasures. Even then, success was a gamble. Yet here he was doing the impossible solo. This power was a double-edged sword. People would kill for it. One slip-up, and he is toast. The tallest tree catches the most wind. Lacking strength, Yuan swore to keep this secret buried. To survive, he'd pose as a budding creator. A perfect smokescreen for his god-tier ability. Safety first, or he'd be dead meat. He was spiraling deep into his strategy when the phone's buzz finally broke his trance. His spirits nudged him. Right, she was coming today. Xiao Shuai was ready for her first contract. Hey, you feeling okay? She chimed in. Never better, he joked, mentioning the backyard chores. Her heart sank. Panic flared in her eyes. Without any spirit chi, he was defenseless. Don't touch a thing until I'm back, she commanded. He laughed it off, just light cleaning. Relax, he urged, reminding her of their sacred pact. Focus on school. Don't waste that genius talent. She huffed. I know. Failure was not an option. 2 days remained until the big event at the academy. The first contract ceremony, a life-altering milestone. While a creature's rank was vital, the master's own spirit chi level dictated their ultimate combat ceiling. Especially for fighters, compatibility was everything. Pick a beast that clashes with your soul's affinity, and you are doomed. Contracts would fail, or worse, your mind would shatter. Even peaceful artisans could not escape this law. Crafting required a soul-deep bond to weave spiritual materials into something legendary. Their class-bred warriors. Perfect synergy between beast and master was not optional, it was survival. One wrong choice meant ruin. Shuai, stay back, the teacher called as class ended. Reconsider your choice, the teacher urged. She knew Shuai's family was struggling, but still, her talent was astronomical. The elite 100 Sons selection was her golden ticket. Don't throw your life away. A heavy shadow fell over Shuai. Back at the shop. Mission accomplished. Yuan evolved 300 Lily Lyras to elite grade. That is 20,000 coins easy. Finally, he had the funds to buy Chu Chi, a top-tier spirit partner. Suddenly, a mystery number flashed on his screen. A new client, he wondered, hopeful. Just in time before closing up shop. Hello, who is calling? He answered. A sharp voice snapped. Are you Chusi's guardian? She is trying to contract a trashy gray beetle. It is a total waste of her genius. Those bugs are 200 coin bottom feeders. Pure aggression, zero utility. No serious professional would ever touch one. They are literally just bird food. The teacher revealed Shuai's true affinity potential. She could master any defensive spirit, a talent rare, even in all of Violet Thorn City. Get her an elite-grade tank for her first contract, the teacher demanded. Immediately. Understood. Thank you. Yuan vowed to deliver a legendary partner within 48 hours. An elite grade meant 100,000 coins. The clock was ticking, and he was broke. Time to grind. He would evolve every green creeper to elite grade for a massive payday. Tomorrow, Xiao Shuai would get the god-tier defensive spirit she deserved. Yuan looked like a total zombie after pulling an all-nighter with spirit key transmissions, but at least he hit the deadline. The spirit creature market was vibing with sketchy energy, so he hid his bracelet under wraps just in case. He turned to Smarty. After confirming he really wanted to tag along, Smarty chirped a big yes. The old good, pets stay home, rule. Totally useless now. Plus, as a 100 questions beast, securing the best deals was literally his job. Yuan realized his companion had become way more stubborn and sassy since his evolution. Their ride pulled up and the driver barked for everyone to stay behind the yellow line. This wasn't a normal bus. A massive spirit horse pulled it. Yuan was stunned, but Smarty piped up. Apparently, Yuan was stuck in history books instead of reading a modern guide, a century post-Spirit Key revival. Exotic spirit creatures had officially phased out those clunky old steel machines of the past. Hold on tight, the driver yelled before launching forward. They moved so fast, Smarty actually tumbled out. Luckily, Yuan snatched him mid-air. The driver then asked if they were also bound for the spirit market. If so, today was their lucky day. When Yuan asked why the driver was shocked, he'd missed the news. Days ago, a dimensional rift tore open 30 miles from Xia County. It took the Violet Thorn Guards 2 days, and nights to slay, the swarms of aberrant insects flooding out before they finally regained control. Word is, a squad is still patrolling nearby. See, that rift unfortunately manifested right next to a breeding base. The spirit creatures there were either slaughtered or maimed. Now a few lucky employees who escaped the chaos are selling the survivors at the market. That explained where the blunt armored pig came from, the driver mentioned. A whole pack escaped and he'd scored one for dirt cheap yesterday. Apparently, once it hit the dinner table, his family feasted, curing the leftovers for later. Yuan could only respond with a polite, "That's amazing." He asked to be dropped off near the stalls. This was perfect, since crippled or injured creatures would be cheap. Major bargains were waiting to be snatched up. Moments later, Yuan arrived and began scouting the area. Smarty told him to let the pro handle it. What species are we hunting, and what's our budget? Yuan wanted an elite-grade defensive beast. As for the price tag, at least 100,000 Federation coins. Smarty nearly fainted, since they had less than 20,000 saved. His plan was to trade the Green Creeper and Lily Laura he'd boosted last night. But even so, those cost maybe 3,000 max. Trading 20 wouldn't even get them halfway to their goal. Suddenly, certain plants caught his eye as if calling out. He could feel their instinctive pulls and rejections. A soft glow meant a friendly aura. He quickly spotted a clear pond carp and some nether orchids, along with snow lilies and thousand jade hands. Was his affinity range really this insanely broad? Support and healing types loved him, and plant creatures were naturally gravitated toward his energy. Shuai vibed with defensive types. Suddenly, Smarty pointed out an 80,000 coin deal. Smarty ruthlessly lowballed them. The seller dropped to 60,000, but Smarty wouldn't budge from 20,000. They were fighting over a tough-hide rabbit, a member of the Leporidae species. It was a level 1 elite-grade defensive type, boasting the powerful hardened hide skill. This ability generates a keratin shield to soak up damage. Yuan quickly apologized for Smarty's aggressive haggling. Smarty was salty. He was convinced he could have scored it for 20,000 with more pressure. Yuan whispered for him to chill, so they could browse more. Next up, a sturdy land tortoise. A level 3, normal-grade defender. Decent quality, but was it enough for their needs? Its enlarged skill lets it swell in size while tucking its limbs safely inside its shell. Perfect for blocking, but its grade was just too low. Yuan didn't have time for grinding levels. Plus, it's slow as a snail, Smarty noted. Then they spotted a phantom claw fox, an elite grade level 1 defender. This little guy specialized in the rollout technique. It curls into a ball to deflect attacks while moving. Basically, it was just like the rabbit. Smarty argued its shyness made it a bad bodyguard for Shuai. He pushed for the rabbit again. Yuan insisted on being careful and kept searching. Finally, they arrived at the very last stall. Standing before him was a coiled horn sheep, an elite-tier specimen from the Caprini ovis lineage. This level 7 rock type boasted perfect quality, utilizing its massive horns for its signature parry skill. It could also trigger a horn assault, a devastating charge that crushes targets with sheer brute force. Yuan's gaze shifted to a perfect quality youngling, uniquely gifted with a specialized crowd control ability. It mirrored the elite's traits, but swapped raw power for the lethal shock horn technique instead. This allows it to emit high-frequency vibrations through its horns, instantly paralyzing any unlucky foe. Yuan tossed out 100 to 1,000 coin bid, prompting the seller to pause and consult his wife. Smarty whispered that market prices were barely 50,000, making Yuan look like a clueless high roller. Even rare variants capped at 90,000. Yuan was basically throwing money away like a spoiled heir. Yuan smiled, calling it sincerity, while teasing that Smarty was still a total rookie at negotiating. The seller countered with a staggering 120,000, a blatant scam that left them speechless. Yuan sighed, frustrated that the market was stripped of all other viable defensive spirit beasts. He was almost ready to overpay when a sudden announcement rang out: all beast meat was sold out. Crowds gathered around the remaining heavily injured beasts, heartlessly suggesting they be turned into scraps. Yuan's eyes ignited with interest, even as Smarty joked about their next meal being braised pork. The seller looked at his wounded creatures with pity, apologizing to the lingering crowd for the delay. He invited them closer to see the final 3, promising a massive profit for any brave buyer. Most walked away. Healing such trauma was impossible without a high-ranked creator, which didn't come cheap. Yuan stepped forward, but the seller waved him off, assuming he was just another late customer. Yuan stood his ground, clarifying he wasn't there for butcher scraps, but for the spirit beasts themselves. The seller looked on the verge of a breakdown, making any negotiation feel like walking through a minefield. Yuan activated his calm mind skill, and like magic, the tension in the man's face began melting. The man softened, introducing himself as Brother Yang, before revealing the three broken creatures in the shadows. He presented the web-spraying spiders, their lethal appearance marred by horrific gaping wounds in their abdomens. They were on death's door, barely clinging to life, as Smarty gagged from the overwhelming stench. These level 10 poison types were elite Aranidae specimens, even if their current state suggested otherwise. Boasting perfect quality, they possessed lay thread, a skill that deploys invisible razor-sharp silk across the battlefield. They could also unleash a poison net, trapping enemies in a mesh of paralyzing lethal toxins. Yuan realized that without the dimensional rift's interference, these beasts would have already ascended to copper rank. This was a goldmine. Healthy, these spiders would easily fetch 300,000 coins on the market. On the StarNet, support types with such high-tier control abilities were considered absolute premium assets. But in their current dying state, Yang was desperate enough to sell the pair for just 150. Yuan was hooked, but his pockets were empty, forcing him to think outside the box. He proposed a trade instead, but Brother Yang was planning to start a new breeding base. He needed raw capital to rebuild his dream, not more mouths to feed in his broken stall. Yang sighed internally, thinking Yuan was just another child playing games with a desperate man. Yuan's voice cut through the doubt, offering elite-grade green creepers in exchange. Yang's eyes widened instantly. Elite-grade Yang demanded to know their quality, but Yuan's smirk was all the confirmation he needed. Yuan invited him to see for himself, knowing elite creepers were legendary treasures that rarely hit the market. Usually such beasts sold for double the market rate. Then, Yang revealed his true masterpiece. This was the creature he'd poured his soul into, the mighty Rhino Rock Ox. It was a level 10 earth type of epic quality, a monstrous tank armed with the Rockhorn skill. The beast could encase its horns in solid stone, launching a reckless, bone-shattering charge against any foe. Its ultimate trump card was sacrifice, a deep bond that allowed the beast to absorb its master's pain. Yuan's eyes lit up with predatory hunger. This was the one. How much, he asked. This beast was absolute peak, an epic tier tank just inches away from hitting copper rank. It's perfect for Shu, Yuan noted. Yang hesitated, eyeing the creature's rough state before asking if he was for real. Yuan stood firm, offering 200,000 Federation coins for the beast. Yang could hardly believe the bold offer. Yang wondered if Yuan could actually fix the Rhino Rock Ox. He suspected a hidden master creator was calling the shots. Yang confirmed the trade 3 spirits for the elite green creepers. Yuan gave a confident nod of reassurance. The creepers are legit, Yuan promised. Smarty backed him up, and Yang finally felt he could trust them. With the deal sealed, Yang began packing his shop, ready to move his 3 spirit prizes. They prepared to head out to inspect the foliage. Luckily, Yang had his spirit lockbox ready to go. He swiftly secured the Rhino Rock Ox and the web-spraying spider inside, prepping them for the journey. Yang tossed the device and it expanded instantly. A shocked Smarty asked what that high-tech gadget even was. This ostrich logistics patent is insane. It shrinks massive spirits to fit perfectly inside a portable container. Best part, it negates all weight, making transport a breeze. Smarty's jaw dropped at the incredible tech. He wondered why they hadn't used one before. Yuan just gave him a bittersweet look. We were too broke for luxury gear, Yuan admitted, as the massive Rhino Rock Ox vanished inside the box. Smarty was floored seeing that titan disappear. Meanwhile, Yang felt a pang of pity for the beast's wasted potential. The ox might never hit copper rank now, unlike the very box it was currently trapped inside. Next, Yang summoned his tumor-crowned fire lizard, a fierce specimen from the elite horned lizard lineage. It's a copper rank 7 powerhouse. Its shedding fang skill lets it leave lethal teeth embedded in its prey. Once it bites, those fangs stay stuck. Then comes the death roll, a brutal bone-snapping rotation that shreds everything. It spins its entire body around its locked jaws, tearing through flesh and shattering bones like a blender. Its secret weapon, burning venom. Poison glands pump lethal toxins directly into its saliva for a searing attack. The beast nuzzled Yang affectionately. He beamed with pride, clearly bonded with this deadly companion. Yang flexed his pet's power, and Yuan was genuinely shook. He leaned in, analyzing every inch of the beast. Seeing a copper-rank spirit this close was a flex. That burning venom trait was a total game-changer in combat. Yang was stunned. How did this kid possess the deep knowledge of a veteran spirit researcher already? Either Yuan was a literal genius, or a legend was training him. Yang knew this gamble would pay off. Suddenly, nearby vendors started shouting at Yang, their faces full of annoyance. Summoning the fire, Lizard had backfired. The other vendors' tough rabbits were now literally too terrified to eat. Even the fairy monkeys were trembling. Yang apologized quickly, promising to get his dragon out of there as soon as possible. The trio mounted the fire lizard and took off. It left any donkey cart in the absolute dust. They arrived in record time. Yang was surprised. Yuan's hideout was way closer than he'd imagined. Yang noticed Yuan was unfazed. Most newbies would be hurling after their first high-speed lizard ride. Yang didn't mind. For him, nothing compared to the adrenaline of soaring on a flying spirit. Despite looking like they might faint, Yuan thanked him. Riding a copper rank beast was a core memory. Yuan swung the door open, warning Yang that his humble home was nothing special to look at. "Make yourself at home," Yuan said. Yang scanned the room, his sharp eyes analyzing every corner. This didn't look like a creator's secret workshop. If those creepers were mid, the deal was dead. Business is business until he saw the green creepers. One look, and he knew a master was involved. Nobody grows elite-grade plants this perfect without a creator's touch. The quality was simply otherworldly. These were top-shelf rare items that blew his expectations straight out of the water. You won't find these on the StarNet. Yuan had boosted the soil with energy ore during cultivation. Their root systems were flawless. Yuan stood tall, knowing the quality of his work was beyond reproach. Seeing the rich sap, Yang realized Yuan wasn't capping. These were the real deal, absolute top-tier specimens. Truly elite-grade. Yang felt a surge of hope. His luck was finally shifting for the better. He flashed back to the last time he'd begged a master creator for a miracle. High-level spirit materials were out of his league. To survive, Yang had to get on Yuan's good side. Yuan gave him a vibe check on the creepers. Yang was hyped, ready to talk cold, hard cash. These elite-grade creepers were top-tier. They would absolutely break the StarNet the moment they dropped. At 3,000 a pot for 100 units, Smarty's jaw hit the floor hearing those massive numbers. After a quick calculation, Yuan pulled the trigger. He needed a massive haul of resources anyway. Ranking up his spirit chi was the goal. This huge transaction was his fastest ticket to the top. Yet Yang noticed the young man remained icy calm. Yuan acted like he handled million-dollar deals daily. He suspected the tiny shop was just a front. Someone powerful was definitely pulling the strings from the shadows. "How long to prep?" Yang asked. Yuan didn't blink, giving him a tight 7-day deadline. Between crafting deliveries and catching some sleep a week was his absolute limit to finish the job. Meanwhile, Yang felt like he'd struck gold. His luck had finally turned. This was his big break. After swapping the beasts, Yuan set the pickup date. Yang hesitated. Was there really no deposit needed? Yuan waved it off effortlessly. They could just settle the full mountain of cash in a week. 7 days, then Yang confirmed. Yuan just gave a confident nod as he watched him leave. Now for the real grind. Yuan dragged the massive rhino rock ox into the yard to start. Smarty cried they were too broke to keep it. But the beast was fading, saving it was priority number one. No time to lose. Yuan unleashed his skill, watching the creature's deep scars slowly begin to knit. He pushed his limits, surging more power. The ox let out a thunderous roar that shook the earth. A crystalline barrier encased the beast. This wasn't just healing, it was an evolution to copper rank. From dusk until the dead of night, they hammered away, fighting to shatter that evolution wall together. Crack. A blinding surge of energy erupted. The barrier finally shattered. The evolution was a total success. Behold the iron-horned rhino ox, a true copper rank, level 1 beast from the giant horn family. This metal-type tank possessed rock horns, turning its crown into a reinforced lethal weapon of destruction. It could unleash a devastating charge, or use sacrifice to tank a portion of its master's damage. Now for the game-changer, the exclusive trait. Yuan had to choose between scaled hide and other powers. Scaled hide would wrap its body in a dense layer of metallic armor plating for ultimate defense. Then there was tireless trek for stamina, or the intriguing high-tier pain siphon. Pain siphon converted incoming damage into pure life force. Yuan was torn between the two best options. Tireless trek was a hard pass. Why boost stamina on a stationary defensive wall meant for tanking? Scaled hide was solid. It offered thick armor and extra impact damage during a head-on collision. It would transform the beast into a rolling fortress of jagged scales, but something else felt better. Pain Siphon was for the real brutes. It allowed the beast to absorb damage and heal simultaneously. It was the perfect skill for a tank that begged to be hit, becoming more unkillable each second. Pain Siphon it is. Yuan locked it in. The status of the ultimate tank was finally complete. Combined with rock horns, this wasn't just a shield, it was a heavy-hitting juggernaut in disguise. This was the perfect first spirit creature for Zoe, a literal walking fortress for her absolute safety. Yuan was certain no one would dare lay a finger on her now. Finally, Smarty chimed in. He joked it was a Beauty and the Beast combo. But Yuan only cared about keeping Shuai safe. Since Smarty was a beast too, Yuan didn't mind. He could feel his own spiritual power surging. Every time he evolved a high-rank creature, the spiritual feedback boosted his own strength to new heights. Forcing that copper rank breakthrough had drained nearly every drop of Yuan's remaining stamina and strength. If he had used legendary treasures, he wondered just how broken this evolution could have become. Drenched in ox spit, Smarty asked about delivery. Ostrich Logistics Yuan replied, already making the call. Having just made a killing, he opted for the high-speed express flight for an instant arrival. Smarty's eyes lit up with excitement. He wanted to soar through the clouds, just like a legend. Deep within the Huiya Palace, a master prepares 3 precise measurements of patchouli sprouts. Sunken sea ebony and rare platinum beast essence follow combined carefully within a shimmering vial. A soldier whispers a question, but a sharp warning from the lady silences his reckless curiosity. A catalyst drops inside, erupting with raw energy, before a blonde woman introduces a crimson fluid. Choking red mist floods the chamber, crushing the observers under the weight of overwhelming spiritual pressure. Their defensive auras buckle. They are witnessing a legendary 5-star creator who finally speaks. Summon the beast you wish to ascend, commands the Moon Empress, a sovereign of the Federation. As a top-tier authority, she leaves Sikong relieved, while Ling Xiao watches the scene silently. The Lady of Violet Thorn City smiles, reassuring the warrior that his success is now inevitable. Sikong bows in gratitude, summoning his beast. The Empress drapes the vial's glowing contents over it. A red-striped black tiger rolls over in submission. Sikong panics, but the Empress remains unfazed. It is transcending to legendary grade. Now he must fuse his hard-earned will rune immediately. A fantasy breed is born. Sikong swears eternal loyalty, promising to face any hell for her. He'd die 1,000 deaths to serve her. Suddenly, the tiger's roar awakens a sleeping rabbit. The rabbit bears a crescent mark. Terrified, the newly evolved tiger begins to shake with fear. The Empress dismisses his dramatic oaths, turning her attention to the flawed creator selection system. The 3-year exam cycle is too slow, forcing geniuses to climb the ranks one boring step. This bureaucracy stifles true talent. Sikong realizes she is about to rewrite the entire rulebook. "Are you proposing consecutive testing?" he asks. She confirms her plan for a revolutionary elite trial. Level 1 to Level 2 in one go. Any prodigy finishing early can skip the fluff. They will bypass 3 tedious exams and head straight for glory. Execute the order she commands. He obeys instantly. Xiao wonders if this change is due to the lack of genius lately. The Federation's youth haven't impressed her in years. Most cannot even grasp a simple will rune. But the Moon Empress reveals the truth. This is actually a personal mission for her. Her rivals, Bamboo, Lord, and Kitchen Sovereign, have already found disciples. She refuses to lose. She won't be outdone by those old fools. Xiao is stunned. The Empress is finally seeking an apprentice. The Empress warns that the devastating dimensional tide is looming on the horizon. Violet Thorn City is the front line, crawling with the most dangerous insect dimensional rifts. Duty is everything now. Every rift must be guarded. The lives of the people are at stake. Failure is not an option. Xiao bows low, vowing to protect her city with everything. While war looms, Yuan is soaring through the sky. "You doing okay?" the driver asks. "It gets smoother above the clouds," he promises. Yuan just nods desperately, fighting motion sickness. The driver laughs at his lively pets. It is a shame the flight was too heavy. Back home, Smarty is throwing a tantrum. He wanted to fly, but he stayed behind. Yin Yan tries to soothe him, while Yuan promises to bring back some gourmet treats. "There is always next time," Yuan sighs. Suddenly, the driver points. They have finally arrived. The view is insane. Moonlight dances across the river, creating a scene from a dream. It is a once-in-a-lifetime sight. But suddenly, Yuan feels a strange surge deep in his mind. A will rune is crystallizing. It is the pure essence of nature, the key to power. These runes are the secret ingredients needed to evolve any beast into a fantasy breed. Yuan grasps the shimmering energy. It is real, a genuine. Will rune is now in his hands. The rune of mountains and rivers. He starts brainstorming beast pairings until the driver interrupts. "Doing all right," Yuan snaps out of it, asking how much longer until they reach the city. They have been weaving through peaks for hours. They won't reach the city until tomorrow morning. Yuan is shocked. He expected an earlier arrival. The driver just chuckles and explains the delay. Yuan revealed he had slowed his flight because his companion was struggling with a brutal case of motion sickness. Yuan ignored the concerns and hit full throttle while Academy students watched his arrival in utter confusion. They were baffled. Today was meant for soul-bonding spirits, yet everyone was gathered on the combat training grounds. A classmate explained the shift. The schedule now forced them into practical combat immediately after forming their contracts. This sudden escalation was shocking, especially with rising rumors about a prestigious and secret selection process happening soon. The Violet Thorn's 100 Suns selection had reportedly forced the Academy to accelerate every single course schedule. This ruthless filter targeted only true prodigies, a fact confirmed by a friend attending a different rival school. While others complained, the instructor announced that their first high-stakes training session was officially starting right now. This third-year combat drill also doubled as a brutal baptism by fire for the brand-new first-year class. Moments after soul bonding, these rookies would be thrown into intense matches against seasoned and experienced third-year students. They drew numbers to decide matchups, eager to test their newly acquired spirit beast skills in live combat. A girl beside Shuai trembled, asking if she truly intended to contract that pathetic and lowly gray beetle. Shuai nodded firmly, just as the battle erupted with a blunt armor pig, relentlessly chasing its small prey. The freshman squirrel fled the arena in terror, granting the veteran victory as the younger students cried foul. It was a total slaughter. These freshmen lacked the battle experience already mastered by their elite and veteran seniors. With the situation turning one-sided, the Class A Shuai was their only hope to reclaim their group's pride. The instructor barked out the ninth battle, demanding to know if the next two contenders were finally ready. Representing the third years was Feng Lixing, a powerhouse with family ties to the influential Creators Guild. Lixing was hungry for the 100 Sons ranking, needing just a few more dominant wins to secure his spot. Though Shuai was talented, Lixing secretly gloated knowing her spirit creature was nothing more than a weak insect. Guild intel from last night made him realize these rookies were simply stepping stones for his inevitable success. He grinned broadly, feeling as though the heavens themselves were paving his path to absolute and certain glory. Between the 100 Sons and becoming the Moon Empress's disciple, his meteoric rise felt closer than ever before. Fame was imminent, especially since he heard Shuai was foolishly planning to rely on a useless gray beetle. She stood zero chance of winning, yet Shuai's eyes burned with a fierce and unbreakable resolve to fight. As she prepared to step out, her teacher interrupted the duel, dragging a different spirit beast toward her. Unwilling to see her talent wasted, the teacher offered a powerful elite-grade yellow-spotted dog instead. Suddenly a voice commanded them to wait, as a massive shadow shrieked across the sky above the academy. Yuan plummeted from the clouds, landing near them, while thanking the teacher for her kind and thoughtful gesture. He revealed he'd brought a special spirit for Shuai, leaving his sister utterly shocked by his sudden arrival. Relieved he was not late, Yuan urged her to trust his choice and form a contract with this creature. The suspicious teacher questioned if this beast could truly match the reliability of her elite yellow-spotted dog. Lixing's laughter echoed mockingly, claiming that no spirit creature she chose could ever hope to bridge the power gap. He was certain that no rookie beast could defeat his longtime companion and soul-bonded warrior, the Strength King Beetle. His copper-rank Strength King Beetle was a titan that had never known the sting of defeat in combat. This level 1 insect featured prime techniques like Giant Horn Ram and the devastatingly powerful Valiant Charge ability. Its exclusive insect observation trait meant no spirit below copper rank could escape its sharp and predatory gaze. The teacher grew anxious. She knew even her elite dog would be obliterated by such a massive beast. Stunned, Shuai stared at the copper rank spirit lockbox, wondering how their family could afford such a prize. She secretly feared the worst had her brother actually sold their family shop for this expensive gift. Yuan told her to focus on the battle, and she promised his hard work wouldn't be in vain. Refusing to waste his efforts, she unleashed the spirit creature and finalized the soul bonding contract right there. Gasping students stared at the metallic, steel-skinned monster, a creature unlike anything they had ever seen before. Lixing admitted the entrance was flashy, but he still banked on his superior experience to crush the girl. He mocked their bankrupt investment in a losing ox, but Shuai countered that the fight was just starting, as she commanded her iron-horned rhino ox to strike with rock horns. The instructor beamed at the copper-rank iron-horned rhino ox, its untapped potential, radiating pure excellence. Truly, it stood as the undisputed elite. Among copper-rank defenders, it was peerless. That single horn fetched a staggering 700,000 Federation coins. Yuan cautioned against pricing the beast, but she shrugged it off as an occupational reflex for any analyst. Horns collided in a shower of sparks. Li Xing sneered at Shuai, mocking her reckless and amateurish opening gambit. Now, he prepared to unleash the raw, crushing might of a true power assault-type spirit beast. Activating Giant Horn Ram, he charged. Shuai commanded her rhino ox to dig in and anchor its weight. One more push, and the ox would fall. Yet Li Xing marveled at Shuai's innate talent for channeling spirit chi so early. A fresh contract, yet perfect synergy. The teacher exhaled, thankful the beast wasn't immediately blasted out of bounds. She noted Shuai's impulsiveness. Falling for such simple bait exposed her glaring lack of real-world battle experience. But Yuan saw deeper. If Shuai had mastered the Rhino Ox's kit, this reckless lunge was something else entirely. A proactive strike wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated probe to test her opponent's defenses. Observers whispered, baffled by the beetle circling its massive prey. Li Xing caught their doubt and smirked internally. He dismissed them as fools. A power assault type only moves for one reason, to find the kill shot. It was all about the lethal opening. He muttered that the girl couldn't possibly fathom the terror approaching. The beetle lunged. Shuai's heart raced as smoke engulfed the arena, masking the rhino ox from her sight. Choking fog filled the stage. The impact was so violent that the crowd braced for the ox's defeat. Surely the iron ox was finished. They faced a legendary power assault beast renowned for its one-hit kill reputation. Even the mentor felt despair. No amount of spirit chi from Shuai could stabilize a beast against such force. Surviving the first blow was irrelevant. The relentless grinding assault would inevitably shatter the rhino ox's guard. Murmurs of unfairness rippled through the crowd. A third year crushing a freshman was simply a cruel mismatch. Yuan remained unfazed. He had handpicked a specific skill designed precisely for this kind of overwhelming pressure. Activate pain siphon, Shuai commanded. The students exchanged puzzled glances, never having heard of such a technique. The rhino ox's aura shifted as its gashes began to knit together. Was this a hidden racial ability? The teacher's eyes widened. Pain siphon, the name alone, sent a surge of adrenaline through her veins. It converts incoming damage into raw vitality. This was a legendary, ultra-rare, exclusive skill for the species. Yuan beamed with pride. Despite her inexperience and new partner, Shuai was masterfully dictating the flow of battle. She was seizing every opening. Li Xing roared, "I don't care how thick your iron hide is. You're just a glorified punching bag." The Strength King beetle resumed its frenzy, leaving the spectators in absolute awe. Despite the brutal barrage, the ox's health wouldn't budge. The teacher turned to Yuan, her curiosity piquing. Did he really choose a beast with 0 offensive counters? She couldn't wrap her head around such passivity. Yuan just watched the hits land. He urged her to relax, recalling her praise for Shuai's defensive affinity. He believed in Shuai's strategy. Meanwhile, Li Xing ordered his beetle to deliver the final crushing blow. "End this now," he screamed. "Giant horn ram at maximum output. Obliterate them." The beetle surged forward. Suddenly, Shuai triggered rock horns, weaponizing the very arena floor itself in disbelief. Was terrain manipulation even legal? Yuan's heart swelled. She was adapting to her environment like a pro. Pure genius. Li Xing spat in frustration at her cheap tricks, commanding his beast to smash through everything. Earth shattered as the beetle plowed through. Shuai held firm, pushing her rhino ox to maintain its defense. The horns locked again. Jaws hit the floor as the massive iron ox refused to yield an inch. It was a literal deadlock, though. The Strength King beetle still seemed to possess the superior momentum. The teacher explained the truth. Giant Horn Ram was a suicidal gambit that ignored the user's own safety. By slamming into the iron ox's impenetrable guard, the beetle was essentially destroying itself with every strike. Recoil damage was eating it alive. This beetle was clearly bred for a very specific, singular purpose. Li Xing had min-maxed it for pure, unadulterated glass cannon lethality and perfect target locking. He never planned for an equal-tier beast to block him. Yuan recognized this all-in offensive training style immediately. It was a strategy built for shock and awe, to suppress enemies and end duels in seconds. Li Xin couldn't close the gap. The tide turned when his Strength King beetle stumbled before their eyes. Most saw luck, but the teacher knew better. Even among spirits, raw power isn't everything in battle. In a grinding war of attrition, an insect type's balance stands no chance against the iron-horned rhino ox's stability. Plus, a contractor's mental fortitude dictates the spirit's performance. These were textbook fundamentals every student must master. Li Xin seethed. A mere freshman hadn't just secured a copper-rank spirit, they were making a fool of him. His assault type was being stonewalled by a tank. He felt like the universe was trolling him in real time. Desperate, he commanded the beetle to retreat, before launching a direct, ruthless strike at the defenseless little girl. The beetle lunged, hurtling toward Chu. The teacher fumed, targeting the summoner. Was a blatant foul against the rules. Yuan held his breath. Amidst the chaos, Chuai commanded her rhino ox to unleash another tectonic rock horns. Jagged cliffs erupted, sending the beetle crashing into the arena's edge. In that heartbeat, the match was officially over. Disbelief shattered Li Xin's face. Chu was declared the victor. The first years erupted, celebrating their impossible underdog win. The teacher realized the strategy. Chu had been seeding the field with rocks specifically to set up that final blow. That last spike had enough momentum to flip the beetle effortlessly. This student was definitely exceeding every high expectation. She didn't disappoint. Slapping Yuan's back, she praised his eye for talent. Yuan winced, asking her to chill. That celebratory slap packed a punch. Chu sprinted over, burying her brother in a massive, joyful hug. She immediately pouted, questioning his finances. Did he sell the shop? What about his medical bills? Her eyes brimmed with worry. He laughed it off, promising he was fully recovered and feeling better than ever. Their business was actually thriving. The teacher hated to kill the vibe, but time was running out fast. Cutting to the chase, she revealed the school wanted Chu to bypass the basics for the preliminary trials. It was for the Violet Thorn's 100 Suns, the essential first step in the regional selection rankings. The ultimate mountain to climb was the Radiant Federation's 100 Suns national selection. That's the elite tier. Despite being a freshman, her raw talent made her a prime candidate for the trials. The academy was ready to go all in on her, pouring every resource into her rapid development. Her growth would be legendary. Yuan thanked the teacher for the opportunity, vowing to support Chuai's journey. He promised to provide every resource her spirits needed. The teacher smiled, acknowledging her duty to nurture such genius. It was her calling. Seeing the empty afternoon schedule, she suggested Chuai show her brother around campus. Yuan eyed the yellow-spotted dog, but the teacher insisted on handling it. She'd raise the pup herself. Over snacks, Yuan dropped a bombshell. His spirit chi was back. Chu stared, demanding proof of this miracle. She needed to see it to believe it, knowing that Rhino Ox must have cost a small fortune. He pulled up his bank balance. Chu's jaw hit the floor at the sea of zeros, staring back. He explained his new path as a creator. His recovered spirit chi opened doors to high-paying elite-tier jobs. He told her to ignore the bills and focus on crushing the selections and climbing the ranks. No more exhausting part-time shifts for her. Then Yuan dropped another hint about his future plans. He was gunning for the official creator certification. Overjoyed, he treated her to a celebratory feast. Hot pot was the choice. He'd give her anything. Meanwhile, the teacher offered meat buns to the pup. This teacher is the true GOAT. Seriously, every student deserves a mentor like her in their corner. Yuan hailed an ostrich ride home. As they sped away, he realized he needed to level up his game. Chu was safe, but his path was just starting. He needed to buy advanced textbooks for research and analysis. The mountain of books was daunting. He'd definitely need Smarty's help to process all this data. Looking back, Chuai won through a clever countermechanic, but there was a deeper secret to her success. Her rock-solid spirit chi reserves were the true foundation of that crushing victory. Compared to her, his own reserves were pathetic. He wasn't a true professional, yet especially with Mobius's needs. The lock spirit trait was demanding, requiring a normal grade start. Suddenly their speed surged dangerously high. The driver was redlining the black-winged falcon, desperate for a 5-star review after their late start. Yuan barely held on. He still had a massive shopping list before the day was finally done. The driver suggested a pro move: just hit up Starnet via Ostrich Logistics for the haul. Same-day delivery was a lock. By the time they hit the driveway, the delivery bird was already chilling there. The driver gave him the green light, zero reason to stress. With the transport mission officially cleared, and every item delivered exactly as planned, the driver fished for those 5-star reviews. Yuan promised he'd come through. He tossed them a quick thanks. His place was now a literal fortress of boxes. It was time to launch his online shop. Skipping the sketchy spirit market would be a total safety win. "Yo, I'm back," he shouted into the house. Smarty and Yin Yan were there to greet him. Smarty almost crumbled, but forced himself to stay mad for the drama. Yin Yan told the furball to chill since they'd already gone flying, promising another sky-high trip soon. Smarty remained stubborn. Not even premium braised pork could break him. Yuan just rolled his eyes at the petty display, but he came prepared for the salt. Yuan unveiled his secret weapon, an apology gift in the form of a gourmet cat food can. The scent was an absolute game-changer. Smarty's eternal grudge evaporated the second that aroma hit his nose. Yuan promised a daily supply of the good stuff. Naturally, Yin Yan chirped in, wondering where her loot was. He pulled out an elite-grade green creeper meant only for her. That pot was officially her new personal ration. It was a total shocker since he used to keep it off limits. Smarty noticed Yuan hauling the heavy crates. He asked if Yuan was skipping dinner. "Eat up," Yuan replied. "I've got a massive inventory grind ahead." Once finished, the shop was overflowing with pots. Even Smarty had to admit this haul was borderline overkill. Yuan confessed he didn't expect the mountain of goods to be this huge. Suddenly, Yin Yan spotted a mystery plant. He investigated and found a bonus card buying 100 green creepers, snagged him a free elite Lily Luara. He hadn't expected the shop to be running such a legendary buy-one-get-one promotion. Yuan suddenly remembered his ideal spirit match: healing support and plant types were his ultimate synergy. His eyes sparkled with pure excitement. This healing-type plant was exactly the missing piece for his squad. It packed a solid healing skill even at normal grade. He ordered the duo to guard the shop downstairs. Yuan locked himself upstairs and activated his exclusive lock spirit skill. He was running on fumes, so his mental battery was basically in the red. But he'd already committed, no turning back now. Finally, the ritual finished. To his relief, his mental power didn't tank this time. By injecting spirit chi, he could start chain leveling the plant. An hour later, the Lily Luara evolved into a legendary elite level 1. Its heal skill could now mend external wounds. Yuan exhaled, finally finished with the intense grind. He turned his attention back to Mobius. Its species was still a mystery, but it hit elite, legendary status too. The core skills remained unchanged for now. Suddenly, a blinding light engulfed the room. He was warped into the Mobius lock spirit space. It was massive now. A voice echoed through the void, asking if he could hear. "Loud and clear," Yuan replied, heart racing. He greeted Mobius, feeling the long-awaited connection. Now, pro tip: whenever a spirit professional signs a soul contract with a creature, it burns through a massive amount of mental energy. Most people only bind 2 or 3 spirits in their lifetime, with 5 being the absolute legendary limit. But Mobius possesses a broken trait called Spirit Lock. It mimics a contract's power, yet the burden doesn't fall on the contractor's mind. Instead, Mobius shoulders the entire mental cost itself. The total capacity scales directly with Mobius's level. Sadly, the price was 10 long years of Yuan's potential after their pact. His spirit chi sensitivity vanished, and his mental strength hit rock bottom. If Yuan was being totally honest, things still aren't exactly perfect. Shifting back, our boy double-checks if Mobius can actually speak out loud now. Mobius confirms that hitting elite rank unlocked his voice. Honestly, this spirit's design is such a huge vibe. Yuan then asks if this pocket dimension is exclusive to him. Mobius nods, explaining that as the contractor, Yuan can reshape this realm at will to store his spirit creatures. Curious, Yuan eyes the mysterious pool, sensing zero spirit chi radiating from it. Mobius admits it's just basic everyday water with no special energy. It makes no sense to Yuan. Mobius simply says water attracts fortune. This spirit definitely has a unique personality. To test the theory, Yuan tosses in some low-grade energy stones, usually reserved for basic gardening. Immediately, they begin pumping out spirit chi. In the outside world, this precious energy always leaks away, making 100% efficiency impossible. However, this spirit lock space is a total vault, zero leaks allowed. With high-tier stones, this place would become a cultivation paradise. Realizing this, Yuan is absolutely hyped. Training his spirits here would be a total cheat code for rapid growth. Mobius agrees, adding that higher ranks will grant them even more time inside. But Yuan knows this legendary setup requires a mountain of Federation coins. Even trash-tier stones are pricey, let alone the high-grade gems needed for a true power-up. The grind for gold is officially on. Suddenly, Mobius's form starts flickering. Panic surges through Yuan. Mobius quickly calms him down. It turns out his energy is just hitting its daily limit. He can only maintain this high-level communication for 30 minutes a day. And time just ran out. Being Yuan's first spirit, Mobius feels a deep guilt for draining his master's potential for a whole decade. But Yuan doesn't sweat it. Those 10 years of struggle taught him more than power ever could. Besides, hope is back, and the road ahead is wide open. The real challenge is just beginning. But right now, the only force majeure Yuan can't beat is exhaustion. He passes out instantly. By morning, he's back to buffing green creepers while Smarty just browses the web. Yuan grinds hard for several days. He finishes well past midnight. With Yin Yin and Smarty fast asleep, he slips into the next room and casts Heal on the injured spiders. Success, they're saved, marking the first fruit of his intense training. 1 week later, Brother Yang pulls up to the shop. Before stepping inside, he offers a desperate prayer that this moment will finally flip his life around. Producing 100 pots of creepers so fast seemed like an impossible task. He felt like he was pushing his luck way too hard. Meeting a shop with a real creator behind it was a miracle. He enters, finding Yuan already waiting. Yuan had agreed to the deal without hesitation, sensing the man's urgent need. He leads him inside. Yang had braced himself for disappointment, hoping for at least 30 pots to keep his new business alive. He looks to his right, then to his left, and his eyes nearly pop out of his head. There are pots literally everywhere. Yuan casually mentions they're all ready. Since Yang only needed 76, he can handpick the best of the 100. Yang is speechless. Yuan basically just saved his entire career. Yuan tells him to skip the flattery. A grateful Yang insists on paying full price without a single discount. Yuan sticks to the original deal. To Yang, he's just met a literal saint in human form. He's ready to call Yuan his sworn brother on the spot. He pays every cent as promised. Before heading out, he invites Yuan to his new breeding base once it's up and running. He promises to save the best treasures for Yuan first. Seeing that pure joy, Yuan realizes being a creator is a total W. But with the room now empty, it's time to restock. He checks if Smarty finished learning that StarNet registration from a few days ago. Suddenly, Smarty screams that something went horribly wrong. Yuan rushes over to find him in tears. Yuan playfully teased Smarty about his weight, but the master quickly reassured him it wasn't fat, just purely premium fluff. A quick stat check revealed Smarty had hit elite grade. Yuan wondered if his brain power had surged alongside his rank. Smarty bragged that his genius was natural. Before, his memory was limited, but now he was on another level. Previously, he could only recall 1 biscuit's worth of data. Now he could track 5 times that amount effortlessly. Yuan noticed Smarty's cravings had shifted from savory braised pork to high-energy biscuits. Yuan mentioned he'd need the little guy's brains for future tasks. Smarty puffed his chest, ready for any challenge. Looking for Yun Yun, a sudden scream from Yin Yin shattered the peace. It was that familiar sense of impending chaos. Yin Yin appeared terrified that she was shrinking. She spiraled, convinced some mysterious illness was wasting her away. Smarty already had the answers ready. He explained it was just evolution, and looked to Yuan for the official confirmation. Yuan verified her stats, elite grade, level 2. Her new arsenal featured the lethal sound spike and terrifying turbulence. Sound spike allowed her to launch concentrated sonic projectiles at any unlucky target in her sights. Then there was turbulence, a chaotic storm of irregular air currents generated by her powerful wings. She was built for war. Yuan questioned why her skills weren't more musical. Smarty admitted they'd been conducting secret combat drills behind his back. Yuan eyed the damaged board. Yin Yin confessed they'd been honing her sound spike while he was away. With Yuan home, Smarty suggested a live demonstration to see just how much her lethality had increased. Smarty gripped the target board, though. Yin Yin warned him that standing so close was a recipe for disaster. As the experiment began, Smarty shrugged off the danger, trusting her pinpoint accuracy would keep his pelt safe. His jaw hit the floor when the attack landed. The sheer force convinced him that this was way too dangerous. Yuan offered a comforting pat. Next, they unleashed turbulence, which absolutely pulverized the wooden plank into splinters. This power dwarfed her previous grade. Yuan realized Yun wasn't just a pet, she was a high-tier combat spirit. The delivery arrived at the doorstep, prompting Yuan to sign off on the new shipment of goods. Meanwhile, a restless Smarty pushed for another test bedding. Yun could now pierce through solid iron. Yuan shut it down immediately. They'd already pushed her limits far enough for one day. He let the exhausted spirit rest, reminding Smarty that his own unique species would be useful for a different mission soon. As a 100-question beast, Smarty had work to do. The little guy was eager to prove his worth. Yuan tasked him with feeding the web-spraying spiders. Smarty's confidence evaporated as he eyed those twitching fangs. Yuan noted that even high-tier spirits couldn't escape the primal instinct to fear creepy crawling arachnids. After some light teasing, Yuan stepped in to help. He then ordered Smarty to begin cataloging every creature's data. From that moment on, Smarty was officially promoted to the shop's data manager and creature strategist. Smarty noticed the spiders glowing with an eerie light. One radiated emerald green, while the other pulsed deep purple. Yuan recognized the signs instantly. These two were on the verge of a massive rank advancement. They spun themselves into cocoons simultaneously. Smarty was awestruck that Yuan managed to trigger a double evolution. Yuan explained it was the same situation as the iron-horned rhino ox before. They were already primed for evolution, but had been held back by devastating injuries and bad luck. Once their vitality was restored, the breakthrough was inevitable. 2 hours later, the transformation reached its climax. The spiders emerged. One had shifted towards a primal prehistoric path of pure evolutionary power. Its exclusive trait was fierce poison, turning its entire body in silk into a walking biohazard of lethality. The second spider underwent a spiritual mutation. Its sticky web trait granted it insane control over the battlefield. Smarty couldn't believe his eyes. They had evolved into two completely distinct and specialized forms. Even Yuan was stunned. It seemed Brother Yang had provided a truly exceptional foundation for these creatures. Smarty asked if they'd sell them, revealing he'd already set up their shop on the StarNet marketplace. Yuan frowned at the empty name slot. Smarty insisted the boss should be the one to choose it. He typed in "No Lost Spirit Creature Store" under the legendary handle, Deep Mountain Old Forest. Smarty cringed, muttering that all his hard work ended up with such an old-fashioned boomer-tier shop name. With the setup complete, Yuan checked the StarNet receiver. It was finally time to test the card. The update was finally ready. Yuan swiped the card, leaving them stunned by its lightning-fast processing. He then tapped it against the pods. Entering the spider chamber, Smarty grew curious. He asked if these 8-legged creatures required a scan as well. Yuan nodded, calling it their mission-critical task. Suddenly, he jokingly targeted Smarty with the scanner like a mock assault. Following their brief fun, the scenery warped. A confused Smarty questioned their new surroundings. Yuan explained this was their StarNet storefront. Such intense paperwork proved this wasn't just some basic digital shop. Smarty gasped at the massive scale. The area was double the size of their own house. While StarNet is built from pure data, that information physically exists in reality. It's simply projected here, as a high-tech virtual image. Smarty noticed their home decor was missing. Yuan explained that style doesn't come free, since digital furniture requires real cash. Talk about a reality check. Yuan then began mastering the interface controls. Next, they explored the StarNet community. Yuan warned his companion to stay close and not wander off. Smarty drooled at a pig massive enough for 80 braised pork dinners. Excitedly, he signaled toward a nearby shop. They found a decor outlet. Yuan ventured inside, searching for the perfect pieces to spice up their storefront. A sleek AI bot glided over, offering assistance. Smarty stared at the machine, completely mesmerized by its design. Yuan requested 2 floral stands and a 1.5-meter counter. The droid promptly led them through the aisles. They reached the items, but the price tag turned them ghostly pale. Jaws dropped. Yuan immediately canceled the purchase. Even with the funds, wasting cash like that felt wrong. Smarty vowed that with 120% effort, he could just DIY it. Desperate, Yuan asked the bot for their most budget-friendly seating options. Guest comfort was essential, but even basic chairs cost a staggering 15,000 coins. Absolute daylight robbery. Smarty tried lowballing them for 1,000 Federation coins. The bot coldly replied that negotiation was beyond its programming. Smarty's spirit broke when his haggling failed. Yuan reassured him, blaming the bot's lack of a soul for the rejection. Next stop, the bookstore. When Smarty questioned why, Yuan reminded him of his upcoming creator examination. Study guides were mandatory. Drowning in the massive selection, Yuan left the final picking to Smarty. Smarty rattled off titles to the AI. The final tally, a whopping 327 books. After receiving a free catalog, Yuan requested the entire haul be compressed into a single knowledge chip. He provided his shipping address, but the bot insisted he sign a strict confidentiality agreement first. Sharing was restricted to family only, or the Creators Association would hunt him down for copyright violations. Any leaks meant total liability. With their errands finally complete, it was time to head home. Yuan admired the bot's efficiency, even considering hiring a similar model to manage their own shop. Their sudden arrival startled a visitor. Spotting his in-store teleportation, she demanded to know if he was the owner. The girl grumbled about the lack of AI staff, annoyed that she had to wait around like a fool. Uncertain of his return, she felt ignored. Yuan apologized, explaining that his humble shop had only just launched. They hadn't managed to secure a robot yet. Secretly, he was irritated by this girl's arrogant, high and mighty attitude. Despite her young age, she called him uncle and demanded a price for the 2 spiders. Yuan froze, stunned by the uncle label. The demanding customer then insisted on a full introduction to the spiders. She wanted the stats and the cost, warning him not to overcharge since the shop was named No Loss. Smarty literally died laughing at the uncle comment. Shaking it off, Yuan pointed to the spindly-legged smaller spider. It was a web sprayer that had awakened the sticky web trait. Thankfully, she noted it wasn't venomous. He then revealed the massive green one. This beast possessed a terrifyingly rare trait, fierce poison. Shocked, the girl stumbled backward and hit the floor. In the tumble, her bee-themed hat was knocked clean off. The fall revealed a perfectly bald head. Yuan thought she looked exactly like a braised egg, but kept it professional. While Yuan bit his tongue, drooling, Smarty couldn't resist blurting out braised egg right to her face. Yuan panicked. Realizing her head was exposed, the girl's face flushed a deep, embarrassed shade of crimson. She stammered that her baldness was a side effect from treating a ghostly thorn bristle spider's sting. Her hair would return soon, she insisted, desperately clarifying that she was definitely not an egg. As if the ghostly thorn spider heard its name, the atmosphere shifted. Yuan asked if she wanted a spider pet. Spirit creatures. The girl was stunned. Yuan's prying only fueled her growing irritation. She snapped, admitting she loathed spiders. Yuan wondered why she was even hunting them. Why seek out spirit types and risk a lethal encounter with a high-rank predator? Like the ghostly thorn spider. She confessed her spiritual affinity, forced this path. Yuan realized some are just cursed with powers that clash with their personalities. Imagine hating spiders yet being destined to only contract and command them. But tactically, the arachnid class offered a massive, versatile range of spiritual abilities. Her potential was limitless, and luckily she'd already received elite medical treatment. Surviving a ghostly thorn encounter proved one thing: she was absolutely loaded. Honestly, if Yuan were in her shoes, he'd just find a hole to crawl into. What I need isn't here, she huffed, but Yuan blocked her before she could leave. He explained that for combat, crowd control, and toxic attributes were the meta. Both had unique perks, but she argued those specific traits were far too weak. She demanded absolute control. Yuan was baffled by her incredibly picky standards. Calling them weak was bold. She clarified it was about utility, not just raw power. She was grinding for a web sprayer, possessing the legendary transparent web trait. She'd even drop a fortune on custom elite-grade epic specimens to find it. She was rich and stubborn. Finding a transparent web was a total RNG nightmare. Even with custom orders, you could burn through 10 spiders and get nothing. Or 20, but looking at the specs, Yuan realized he could actually do it. He claimed he could deliver and asked for her quantity. She felt insulted. "Do I look that naive and gullible to you?" she challenged, eyes narrowing. He was decent looking, but she wasn't falling for it. Yuan's patience was fading. Wait, did she call him handsome? Flattered, he became determined to seal this deal. It wasn't the compliment though. He just couldn't let this girl struggle anymore. Yuan played it cool. Fine, go hunt through 100 shops and see if you find it. He turned to leave, but his reverse psychology worked. She immediately stopped him. Why talk to someone you don't trust? He teased. She asked if he truly had a way. If you don't believe my words, he replied, then there is no path forward. She proposed adding him on StarNet. If he actually secured the spider, he'd ping her to buy it. Yuan's retreat to gain advantage tactic worked perfectly. He was a pro at handling high-maintenance clients, so he shot down her easy offer. Come back when you're ready to buy. She quickly pivoted, acting cute to soften him. She admitted his sketchy, undecorated shop gave off major scammer vibes, making her wary. She insisted on adding him, promising top dollar without haggling if he delivered. Yuan finally relented. They swapped IDs and she laughed at his ridiculous username. He saw hers Cloudstream and joked about shark eagles. She scoffed, calling him a moron. Their playful bickering escalated, but Yuan clearly held the upper hand. He reminded her he was the elite craftsman she needed for her customization. Zip it, she snapped, reminding him she was the VIP customer paying his bills. She dropped 10 radiant coins up front. Now she'd be waiting for his good news. Yuan was floored. At 2 radiant coins each, she'd just prepaid for 5 units. She didn't even blink. Smarty's eyes practically turned into dollar signs at the sight. Their broke days were over. Finally, Yin Yin could afford those high-end records. But Yuan warned the funds were in escrow. Luckily, Brother Yang's payment arrived, keeping them afloat. When checking spider costs, he was stunned. 5 elite spiders cost only 1 radiant coin. Prices were crashing. With Yang's fresh cash and these cheap materials, Yuan finally grasped the staggering cost of high-level cultivation. Why was that braised egg girl so quick to drop 10 radiant coins after spotting their empty pockets? Smarty's mood tanked as he spiraled, wondering if a tiny StarNet shop could actually recoup their investment. Yuan reassured him, noting that with a high-tech robot handling things, their stress levels could finally drop. Still, extreme frugality was a must. Expansion costs for the storefront were a massive, terrifying question mark. Smarty remained skeptical. Business was dead, and that clunky, outdated robot he brought looked absolutely brain-dead. Yuan urged him to stay positive, knowing that nailing the braised egg girl's order was their golden ticket. Massive wealth was on the horizon, yet Smarty remained unimpressed, choosing to go sulk with Yuan Yun instead. Yuan vowed they would recoup the loss fast before retreating to his inner space to summon Mobius. He was itching to discuss his next lock spirit evolution, but Mobius immediately shut that idea down. The entity lectured him on budget control, warning that their dwindling resources demanded absolute ruthless discipline. Yuan countered that while cash was king skyrocketing, his strength was the ultimate shortcut to even bigger profits. He then revealed that his next evolution target for the lock spirit was already locked and loaded. Still, he craved expert input. His sights were set on the elusive and mysterious spirit siphon goldfish.